Hi, it's Simon Baker here. And before we get into today's podcast, I'd like to talk to you about Fusion 4 Ventures. Fusion 4 Ventures helps prop tech companies around the world to rapidly scale their businesses with a view to exiting. I'm a partner at Fusion 4 Ventures, and how we do it is simple. We take a hands-on approach and work with management to help them find ways to scale revenues through acquisitions or through organic growth. And we then help them find the right exit partner. If you're interested in finding out more, contact me at simon@fusion4.ventures.
Hi everyone, before we get on with today's interview, a quick word about our sponsor, PropTex. Now, we at Online Marketplaces Group only partner with companies that we really believe in and we really like. And we really like PropTex. Not only is their technology excellent, but they're good people as well. If you want to hear about how your real estate website can have a 40% uptick in engagement, reach out to the guys on LinkedIn or go to proptex with 2x's.com. And now onto the interview.
Hello and welcome to the PPW podcast, bringing you news, views and interviews from the world of real estate, online marketplaces and prop tech industries. My name is Harvey Hancock. I'm a news editor at Online Marketplaces. I will be your host today as ever. We are joined by the slightly irritated Simon Baker, who couldn't finish his ad read before we started the episode.
Long story. I am over it now. Anyway, all's good. Harvey, great to see you. And Margaux, great to chat with you.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for having me today.
So Margaux, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. We spoke in Bangkok a couple of months back, and you said, I want more content about smaller businesses that are ready to grow. And I said, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is. Come join us on the podcast. And you said, yes. So here we are. So I'm going to give a brief overview of Vefaonline for our audience, if you don't mind. Let me know if I'm completely wrong. Feel free to interject if I've got it wrong. But Vefaonline is a portal, correct?
Yes, correct.
And it is a portal for bulk buying, so multiple units in one deal, and a lot to do with social housing, correct?
Yes, in France.
Okay. So we're in France, and you are a solopreneur who has scaled the business to about €500,000 in revenue per annum, correct?
Yes.
And now you want to know where to go next, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the basics sorted. So could you give us a little bit of context about Vefaonline, what it does,
sure.
how it started, where did you spot that niche in the first instance, and how did you grow it to where it is today? Over to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Margaux. I'm CEO of Vefaonline. Let's call it Vefa for the session. It would be easier. And what we do, we are a B2B portal specialized in pre-selling, actually, multiple units at the same time. Our buyer are companies that are looking for different type of housing, sometimes the whole building, and they are institutional investors mostly. So social landlords, we have banks, insurance companies, hedge funds also. And why this market? That's the question. Actually, real estate in France, maybe in mature market, you will tell me, is kind of an iceberg. So you see things from very far. I mean, Se Loger, Le Bon Coin. They are specialized in selling, buying, renting homes. But under the sea, there are a lot of hidden markets. Our markets, institutional housing, it's 3 billion euros per year. And it's right now during the crisis, because we have a crisis right now in France, housing crisis. But 2 years ago, it was a 7.5 billion market. So that's a lot. And this market actually was not digitalized at all. So new developers were selling with their phones several units or the whole building to institutional investors. Sometimes they used broker, but there was no solution. And actually, I'm very particular entrepreneur because I was doing that. I was a seller in my precedent life. So one day I just told my colleagues, are we going to still selling buildings with our phone, with no tools? There was no transparency in the market. We were struggling to have prices, if we have good offers or not. And so one day I just told them, well, you know what? I'm just going to build a tool so we can sell and just have transparency in this market. So I just quit and just build the company. So that's how it started.
Okay, so this raises a bunch of questions I got, at least, because I want to understand the business better. Where let's start the way I want to have the conversations. I want to start with understanding where you get supply from. So how do you find developers to work with you? Mm-hmm. I then am curious about talking about demand, how you get people who want to buy, companies, societies who want to buy buildings, etc., from you. And then we'll talk about monetization. All right, so we're going to have that sort of conversation because that allows us to break the problem down to understand how to help you. I feel like you got a doctor's office, right? How to think about growing this business.
Yes.
So let's start with the most obvious question: is supply. Your is it individual units? Is it you only deal with complete buildings? Is it's got to be at least 5 units?
Yes.
How do you think about that, the supply side?
Yes, but the funny story, we begin with demand, but I'll talk about it later. Mm-hmm. On our portal, you can publish a listing with 5 units. It's the minimum required.
Right. Okay.
And then we go to 100 sometimes.
Okay, but how do you create awareness of Vefaonline with developers, people who have at least 5 units? How do they know you exist?
Yeah, we just cold email them at first.
Right. So
saying we were doing that with a portal because they were doing it on the phone every day, you know.
Yeah.
It's actually pre-selling. And to understand our business, we have to talk about Se Loger and Le Bon Coin. Mm-hmm. Se Loger and Le Bon Coin are B2C. And Vefaonline is B2B. And the goal is to catch the listing before it goes on Se Loger or Le Bon Coin.
Yep.
And we are saying to new developers, hey, you can sell in B2B and you can sell it online. Please work with us. We have hundreds and hundreds of buyers company. So just published.
Okay. So how do you get to these developers? Do you call them? Do you email them? Do you have a team whose sole job is to get out there and create the supply?
Yeah, we actually we are a small team, but we are a sales team at first, and we were cold emailing at first with a 15% of response in each campaign, so it was quite good. And we begin like that, and we understand that in the middle market, we have a way because new developers use their phone. They don't have enough people in the company to focus on B2B selling. So we were a solution, actually. And they didn't want to use brokers because it was expensive at the end with the fees. So we were in the middle. We were the third wave, actually. So we began like that.
And do you still have a team that's out there calling?
Yes.
Every day?
Now every day. Yes.
Right. And so would there be, I guess most developers in France now know who you are.
Yes. I can say yes now, because we were pioneer and we still first. We are leader in this market. I mean, digitally speaking. So we are playing winner takes all at that game.
Okay. Do you have because when I think of this industry marketing or B2B marketing to get supply, the one thing that when I talk to companies and all portals have the same issue is do you have a complete list of all developments and new developments and potential new developments within France, and are you getting to the developer really early so
Yes,
they say you're now part of their solution?
Yeah, that's the goal, because actually sometimes we are phoning and people are saying, oh, I'm working on it. Maybe you should call us in 3 months, because I'll be ready to be in pre-sale. So we have to catch the right time to get the publication online.
Yeah. And how big's that team?
We are 5 right now. We are a small team, top talent.
No, but is it one person dedicated to?
Oh, we have 2 people dedicated
to supply, just generating supply.
Yes.
And what if you think about all the potential apartments that could be on your website, so groups of 5 or above, what percentage would be in your ecosystem?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we penetrate 4% of the market.
Okay, so the good news is there's a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are working on it. But the funny thing, it's not about supply today, actually, because of the crisis in France, I mean, in Europe, actually, with the raise of interest rates, right now, people are struggling to sell in B2C. So, right. So they were coming very easily to us saying, oh, yes, I remember you B2B. So can I sell through the portal? Today it's about buyers, actually, because we have to find the buyers who can sell more today.
Okay. So
who can buy more.
That's a good next step, right? When we think about the demand side, how and you're primarily, and I've got your website in front of me, and you're basically looking for institutional investors, and so people who are going to buy the 5, they're not going to live there. They're there to run as for a rental yield.
Yes.
How are you finding these buyers who are looking for? I don't know what's the yield on this. 5%, maybe 6%.
Yes.
Yield. Okay. So how are you finding those sort of companies, and how are you getting the attention of those companies as being a channel by which they can then acquire property?
Well, before the crisis, it was easy because most of new developments were sold in B2C. So there were few supply. So buyers just register on our websites. So it was very easy. And at some point of the crisis, there was a lot of supply. Last year, it was about 5,000 units published on our website. So it's a lot. And so today our commercial arguments change with targeting better, helping them to buy at a good price. So we have to develop new features. We are actually now focusing on the product more than the supply, because there is a lot of supply today. So we have to be best to attract buyers with our features.
Okay, so what are the features? I mean, we just did a podcast earlier today on looking at the US market and talking about companies like Homes.com, who are doing a great job at really building out the consumer experience.
Yes.
And for them, it's about suburb information and so on. In your market, where it's about the demand side and it's about, you know, what are institutional investors looking for, what information are you providing to help them make it easier for them to make a decision?
Yes, we are focusing on prices right now because there is a lot of supply, like I said, but you know, it's still a hidden market. So you don't have access to transparency of transaction. So right now, what we are doing is to build a price recommendation system based on comparative data. And we actually register all of our data since the beginning. So it's been 5 years now. And so we develop maps, like a Google Maps, with all of our data and prices, especially. So people can, all over France, so you can enter a city and just check what was the last transaction, what was the price, what was the environmental certification of the buildings, etc., etc. So we help them providing information mostly.
Okay, but surely what they're more interested in is not the price, but the return, the yield on the investment. So
Actually,
do you do any work on potential yield calculations? What's the average rental price, and so on?
Actually, we don't do that because we realized with the diversity of profile of buyers we have, they all have different model. It's very different at each times. Sometimes they will keep the building for 5 years, some of them for 10 years, sometimes even more. So it's very different each time, and we don't want to use just one yield. It won't be correct for everyone, actually, but giving them the ability to know if they can have a discount on this building, or if we can, or if they, sorry. I think it's the more important for them. It's to know what's the good price right now, especially during crisis.
Right. So then, how do you get paid? This all goes to the role that you're playing. Are you basically a broker and you're taking a percentage of the outcome?
Our mission, like most portal, was always to provide transparency. So it was our mission since the beginning. We were crushed by the crisis, so we end up with a hybrid model, combining subscription and transaction fees. So we have both.
Right. So the advertiser pays a subscription to just
Yes.
have the listings up there, and then for every transaction that occurs, you'll get a fee as well.
Yes.
How do you? So what role do you play in that, making the deal happen? Are you a licensed real estate agent or broker, or do you have how do you actually make sure that the deal occurs, and B, ensure that you get paid?
Yes.
The two are quite important.
Yes, tracking tracking has a cost. We realized that along the way, and we were talking about it with different CEOs actually that I met in PPW events. Actually, it's you have to have a team to track. Actually, if the deal is going to the end. We are actually very close of our buyer companies, and it's mostly the buyers that are telling us they are making the deal. So we have 2 people right now who are focusing on, they're doing account management for buyers. So we can get the information.
Right. So you're a small team of 5. You've got 2 worrying about the supply side, 2 worrying about the demand side, and I guess you're the one who worries about everything else.
Yes. Correct.
Right. How? So that makes sense. How do you make the deal happen? I mean, that's an interesting challenge, right? Do you, because you're going to one side, they're saying, well, this is 5 apartments at, I don't know, 300,000 euros each, so it's a $1.5 million deal, euro deal, sorry. And then on the other side, you're going, well, I've got a buyer here who's going to do 1.4, and then are you actually acting like a buyer's agent and a seller's agent in this discussion, or do you just make sure that the buyer and the seller have a conversation?
Yes, that's it. We are just making sure they are having a conversations, that there are meetings talking about the discounts. It's mostly about pricing. So the mission is the same. It's to make the info just goes from buyers to sellers. So we are just doing that. We are not counseling everyone because they are professional, actually. So it's quite different in B2C. They are pros. So we just have to make sure they discuss. And also we have actually we can see the email that they're sending on the platform, so we can track it. If there's something missing or someone is not answering, we have an alert for that.
Right. And given you're incented by getting a commission from the sale, you chase everyone all the time.
Yes.
Do you help the buyer negotiate? So, the buyer's saying, I've got 1.4 million to spend. Do you go to the seller and go, come on, take the deal?
Yes, sometimes we are just saying that, not because we are thinking it, but because as we have a lot of listings, we are just saying, compared to other listings, it's the best offer you can get. So just take it.
Right. So you try to create some
a database of comparative.
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking that, but you're also trying to create some tension. All right. So there's the fear of missing out on one side.
Yes.
With the buyer. Okay. So
but the funny thing about it, when we began 5 years ago, actually most of sellers were calling 3 companies. It was tops that they were doing. So when we create the portal, we have 5 or 10 buyers, even 5 or 10 buyers was enough to create a FOMO of is there an offer I can get? So the first deal actually was just because the seller didn't know the buyer. So
okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what are the 2 or 3 key issues that keep you awake at night?
Very interesting question. I think growth actually right now, because like I said, 2 years ago the market was 7.5 billion. Right now it's 3 billion, so it crashed by half, and we are still growing. So
but the good news is I don't think of it that way. I think of it like, well, I'm 4%, so I'm not 96% doesn't go through me. Okay.
Yes.
And I think I would always, the flavor I'm hearing in this is, we talk about crisis, we talk about crash. They're all negative words, right? And while they might be real, right, we have to we are operating in this world where this either you have the business or you don't have the business. If you have the business, you go, yep, okay, the market went down. What can I do to maximize the outcome in that market? And I was chatting with a broker the other day, and we were talking about the turmoil in the global markets at the moment, with because of tariffs and so on. And he just smiled and said, "This is good." And I said, "What do you mean this is good?" He said, "Well, while there is turmoil, as long as someone's buying and selling, I'm making money, right? It doesn't matter where it is, as long as it's happening. It's when there's no transactions, I'm not making money." Okay, so think about it in the positive way. So the challenge is scaling. So how do you get to the other 96% of transactions? Is the question I'd be asking.
Yes. Actually, right now we are just thinking about the next chapter for us, because actually we are right now at 4% of the market.
Yep.
So we actually are focusing on the product, like I said, because we want to have more buyers on the website, so we can have more transaction right now. So we are focusing on the product, and also to get paid right now is a tough one. So yes.
What do you mean by getting paid? Is that because the deals are occurring, but they're not paying you?
Yes.
Who pays you, by the way? Is it the seller?
Seller.
The seller pays you, and this is okay. So why aren't they paying you?
Because it's a long run of cash flow right now for us, for them actually. Okay. So they're playing the time.
Yeah. Okay. So this is I understand this problem. I'm involved in other businesses that work with developers, but not in the bulk sales, but in the one by one sales, and it's the same issue. The developers go, "Fantastic, thank you for the deal. I'm going to pay you tomorrow." Mañana, the Spanish would say, right? Tomorrow.
No, that's wake me up at night. That's kind of the subject.
Yeah. So then, so if we start to break those problems down, the one way in which the companies that I've been involved in that are working with developers and they've managed to get a better outcome is they've done a couple of things. The first is they've gone to each of the developers and say, "Look, we are a small team. We account for 5%, 4%, 5% of the market, but we're getting transactions. Now, we want to work more closely with you, but I need better terms, right? So we're going to sign an agreement where you'll pay within 30 days, not on one of these extended payment agreements, right?"
Yes.
And you have to go, and I've seen this happening in Latin America, which is a far crazier market, right?
Okay. Actually, we learned a lot last year about transaction, because we were doing transaction all over France with 5 units, sometimes 50 units, but it's the same cost efforts actually. And so we didn't get the same commission at the end. So we have to focus also on on significant transaction to earn, money more than just 5 units. 5 units actually is not very interesting for us, because it's the same effort costs. So we learned that last year. So now we are changing a little bit the system right now. So that was a lesson.
Yes.
And also about transaction, you have to have all the buyers. So actually, that's why also we are focusing on buyers
Yeah. So
to have more transaction.
Yeah, so the some of the lessons learnt with working with other transaction-based businesses, working with developers. One is having real conversations with the developers about cash flow and being honest with them up front and saying, I want to promote you. I've got an audience. I'm investing in growing that audience. It's to your benefit that you pay me so I can then grow my business. Okay? Yeah,
Yes.
you being cheap doesn't help me. The second thing, and we've found that just by having that conversation, these companies have been able to negotiate better terms,
Yes,
and
for
ensure
sure.
they get paid faster. The second thing that these companies have done is they've been far more selective on the types of properties they sell, and they have two dimensions they think about. One dimension is value to you, right? So selling a 100,000 euro property is not worth very much versus selling 1 million euros.
Yeah.
Okay. But they then have the other dimension, which is a bit ease of sale, how quickly, and
Yes.
that's a function of your database of buyers or your network of buyers. Well, they're all looking for 500 euro apartment, 3 to 500 euro apartments. Well, having a 1 million euro apartment would be wonderful for 5% commission.
Yes.
But no one's going to buy it.
Yeah, for sure.
So understanding that mix is very important, and then only working with those properties that are valuable but easy to sell.
Yes.
Okay, and that's where they focus. That's where they focus. And
that's great. That's great because actually we also realized, at the end of the year, we also realized that we were very good at selling 10 units because we have buyers that are very active and engaged in that range of buying. But actually, we were we underpriced our offer, so we didn't get the money we should have get actually.
Yes.
So that's what you said. So yes,
now,
we are working on it.
Yeah, and then the last thing that some have been trying, and I think would work well in your market, is that your buyers are professionals.
Yeah.
So they don't want to waste their time. So I would be saying, look, I've got a team that is happy to look at the market for you. And by the way, I may not have the property, but I will find the property for you. It might be on Specialisation or Le Bon Coin, or probably not there, but you know what I mean, right? It's one of those other properties. So if I find that property for you, I want a finder's fee. And what I'll do is I'm now putting myself in the middle of the ecosystem. And then I'm using the demand to bring in more supply. Hey, I've got a buyer for 10 properties in, I don't know, Lyon. And you go and find developers who don't work with you and you say, I've got a buyer.
Yeah.
and then you say to the developer, well, I can get I've got the buyer and they're going to pay me a percentage. So I will pay, you have to pay me less, which means you're going to make more in the process.
Yeah, I like the idea actually of doing it. We sometimes try to just connect, the seller team and the buyer team just to exchange and say, okay, all right, what's the top product that people are looking, so we can try to chase it. So I like the idea. We try to do that right now, actually.
Yeah. So, and I'll give you a real life example. There's a company in Brazil called Alcubo.
Yeah.
All right, and they They only work in Sao Paulo, right? So first of all, they're very limited in the market, so they don't have to learn about other cities in Brazil. And they only work within certain price ranges. So they if you think about the market in three broad segments, the cheap social housing, mid-range, and then the more expensive premium developments. They don't work at the premium end because it's too hard. There's and quite often the buyer and the seller have already got some connection.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't work at the social housing because the payment terms are really bad. So often what happens in Brazil, for example, instead of getting paid on the first closing, so the part of the payment is the developer receives their first payment, they then pay the commission.
Yes.
What they do in the social housing is they pay the commission proportionately across all payments.
Ah, okay.
So it could
All
take
right.
4 years for our
Yes.
Kubo to get paid, right? So it's bad for cash flow. So they've said we're only focusing on this mid segment, and then even within the mid segment, they get more focused.
Okay.
Right? So what they're trying to do is be the dominant player within a mid segment, where they've got great relationships with. So any developer building a product in that mid segment, they go, well, our Kubo is the specialist.
Okay.
And so what happens is our Kubo now can negotiate 1% higher or 2% higher in commission, right? Because they're the specialist in that. The developer likes it because they can sell fast, right? Which is important to them. Our Kubo's negotiated better terms, right? So they get paid on first closing, right?
Okay.
So even if the deal falls over, then we'll worry about that later, but they get paid. And because of that segment of the market, they've been able to do good deals with financing, right? Because that's the other issue, right? Is the buyer will need access to funds to sometimes close out the transaction. And so because our Kubo specializes in an area, it becomes more programmatic, very, just follow the bouncing ball. Dum, 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 dum. I'll get you the loan. So maybe the opportunity here, I know a little bit, but I'll just, is say, well, you're doing this bulk buying from 5 units and above, or maybe you specialize in a certain range. You keep the markets to Paris, Lyon, and Nice, 3 of the big markets. Okay. And then you say, I'm going to know every single developer in each of those markets who builds this. And by the way, I'm only going to deal with, I don't want to deal with the social housing because it's a headache. I don't want to deal with it. Maybe I deal in the mid-range because I know that the rental yields. So you look at the macroeconomics. Well, we know we're going to have a tougher environment, more demand for mid-range rentals. The yields will go up because people have to pay more to rent because they can't afford to buy, which means that the owners. So then you go, I'm going to be the super specialist in that area. And, Vefaonline becomes known as being the specialist in that market. And therefore, every developer goes, I'm using you.
I like the idea, and it rings a bell because actually we were realizing the other day with the team that when we call the seller companies that work with us, sometimes they just forgot to publish a listing, and so the more we talk to them, the more they publish. So we get listings. So it's kind of close of what you say. Actually, they like the service, they like the platform, but we have to be in contact more and more and more to get listings. So
So with a small team, and Ronnie, who runs this business in Brazil, as an example, he has a small team. He's got 20 people, so it's larger, but he's worked. It took him a few years, but he's focusing in on that segment, and he becomes the brand that people use, right, in that market. So that I think what I walk away from this is that focus is super critical when you're small, because
Okay.
you can't get distracted. There's an opportunity here, an opportunity there. Oh, you want to sell this 100 units? Yeah, I'll take that, because you get desperate, right, to do
Yes.
everything. But what you actually are doing is buying more of a headache than buying more of an outcome.
Okay. Very interesting.
Right.
Essence.
And what you want is a small number of developers who go, wow, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
I give them my developments, they sell them. They've got great buyers. The buyers are institutional, so they pay cash. I've got no risk, because that's what they like, right? An institutional buyer, there's no risk.
Yeah. There's no
And
risk.
and you can optimize all your comparative models around that subsegment.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you start to grow a little bit, either grow regionally or grow within a region. It's a little bit
Within
either
the
side.
region. Okay. Yeah. Because actually last year we were all over France. So we have few products, but all over France. So yes, maybe we should focus on some regions right now.
Yeah, I would assume that the buyers, because of the models they have to run, would rather buy 5 units in one area than 5 separate units across the country, because they know that in this area the average rent is, I don't know, 2,000 euros a month or something. I can do the maths.
Yes, actually, we realize when we just looking at the map of criteria they register, that they are focusing on the same area. Actually, we just realized that, and so they want to buy at the same place to get, a minimum of exploitation behind. So, yes.
I think that 40 minutes later the host gets a word in edgeways, but
I forgot Harvey's here.
I forgot I was here for a moment. Simon's on absolute fire today, and I thought it wasn't worth getting in the way. But I think there's a really interesting lesson in here, which is that even niches have niches, right? Even niches have niches, and there's always a way to focus down more. And it's a word that keeps coming up in a lot of podcasts recently, Simon, is focus, focus, focus. One of the
Thank
things,
you, Simon.
One of the things that we
focus. So it's not rocket science.
One of the things that we've been speaking about offline, Margaux, is the idea of is Europe a market where can portals cross borders? Now, you said that the business had an opportunity to maybe even expand internationally to the Belgian market, but I'm wondering whether, based on today's conversation specifically, whether that's the right move for the business right now. I'm just trying to play with this idea in real time. Does that change your idea about whether a business is ready for expansion when you realize that there's actually focus points within your local market that perhaps you need to nail down first, so that you know you have the right playbook for when you do eventually cross borders, for example?
Yes. Well, actually, I've watched and listened a few PPW podcasts. So yeah, the focus term is coming on and on. So yes, I got that. Actually, we had different leads from Belgium, Germany, also Spain, and sometimes you just want to dig in it because you want to grow as a CEO. It's just your mission. You want to grow more and more, but actually the cost of effort is high to move, I guess, because I dig into it a little bit. And actually, I like the idea to be close with my clients today, because if we pass the crisis together, I think we will earn a lot at the end. And I like the fact that, yes, we could be a brand for middle market, and I think it's a nice idea. So let's focus.
Yeah, the way I think about it is, if you can establish, like we're very good at people who want to buy 10 to 20 units spend between, I don't know what the number is, 8 and 20 million euros or something, whatever, right? And they want to get a return of at least 5% yield. They're the sort of products that we deal with. We've already done the research. We won't even market a product that we can't get the yield. Because the other thing is that I agree with you that everyone's got their own time horizons and their own ways of doing the calculations. But the thing that's the same for everyone is I pay $1 million or I pay 500,000 for an apartment. Someone is going to rent it, and they're going to rent it for 2,000 a month. I don't know the maths, right? That's not going to change. No matter what my spreadsheet does, I still have to pay the money, and I'm still going to get the money, right? So if you can do all that work initially and give everyone that comfort that we've done the minimum, and what we do is we know at the gross level, I don't care how you financially engineer it. We know that your high level return is going to be 6% or better.
Yes.
If you can make it better through financial engineering, fantastic. I don't care, right? If you've got some assumptions about in 10 years you sell it for 70% more value, okay, that's your assumption. But I'll give you the bulk work.
Okay.
Then you could say, well, what other markets make sense? And it might be Brussels is maybe better than Nice. Maybe Madrid is going to be better than Brussels. I don't know, right? But then you just become a specialist in key markets rather than trying to be a generalist everywhere.
Yeah. Actually, I was waiting for buyers to ask us for European products, actually. And I think it could work that way. But we got leads from sellers, so it was different because we will have to go to the buyer side in each countries. So it was a lot of efforts. But I'm waiting for the buyer side to move if we move. So
but the way I would do that is I'd say, are there any large French-based insurance companies, French-based superannuation companies, retirement funds, who are going to look? They're the ones you want to become very good friends with.
Yeah. Yes.
Because then they internally they go, well, we need to de-risk, so we need to get access to the German property market and maybe the Spanish property market. I don't know. Okay, we can work with you to source products. We have good relationships with Scout24 and Idealist or whatever.
Actually, it could work. I mean, in the context, in the economic context right now, I think it could work if you have a client that want to move abroad with you, or if you have a partner in the country and we share revenue. I think it could work that way, actually, right now. So I just want to say at the end of this discussion, we will focus on our clients. I mean, that's the basics, actually. So I'm not very surprised about it, but sometimes it's just good to talk about it and, to have examples such as our Kubo.
Yes. And you should talk to Ronnie, by the way. I'll do an intro. And
actually, I've met them 2 years ago in Madrid. I think they were in Madrid at some point.
Yeah, they would have been.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just we will focus on our clients, sellers, and buyers, and just see if we can, raise our revenue like that.
I think that would be a very smart
thing. And it's
$1
million, so okay.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end now, Margaux, and what one of the things that I liked about our interview with Courtney from Sell Smart was that I gave her the opportunity to ask Simon a question. So, if you'd like, I'm going to give you one question and one question only for Simon Baker to wrap us tonight.
So Simon, we just talked about 40 minutes right now. What would you tell me to do first after our meeting?
I would I would want to find out what the sweet spot of the business is. Okay.
Okay.
I would want to get 100% clear if I look at the transactions we've done over the last 5 years, and I map them all. I might map them by number of units in a deal. I might map them by location. I might map them by average price per apartment or something, and just sort of work out where everything comes together, right? It might be 10 units at 350,000 euros in Paris, right? That's where we've got a peak. Okay. Then I would look at so there's no short answer to this one. I would then look at my who I've dealt with as sellers. Have I got any spikes? Well, these 3 developers I've done 60% of my work with. Okay. So I must be meaningful to them. Can I negotiate better terms? And these 5 buyers have used me more than once or more twice or whatever. So I must be valuable to them. So how can I get a better, deeper relationship with them? So where I've done well, how do I go deeper so I have a more solid foundation? And then I would progressively move out from there. So those I've done 2 deals with, 1 deal with, and so on, right? And then I would just, because the best way to make money is to go to is to get more from the people who already know you than try to get more people to know you. And so that's what I would do if I was in your shoes. And then I would probably do a little bit of, out of all that knowledge and data, I would say Vefa is equal to anyone who wants to buy investment property that's yielding 7% in Paris, Nice, and Lyon, and who wants to invest between 5 million and 10 million, right? We are the sweet spot because we know that it's going to give you a great return.
Sweet spot.
Yeah. What is that sweet spot? And then I can slowly expand from there. And that means then everyone is focused in on that, which is great.
Okay. Sounds like a plan, like the idea.
Yeah, that's probably how I would approach it.
Okay.
With all of 51 minutes.
Are you happy with that answer, Margaux, is the question?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. That's why we have these conversations, right?
Focus. There we go.
Focus on the sweet spot. Bam.
Yes.
There's the name of our episode. That was a really great conversation. Thanks very much for your time, Margaux. Thanks for willing to be transparent about the business and the problems that you're going through. And as always, Simon, thanks for the masterclass on running a portal. It's a pleasure to see you on fire.
Business. So this is a little bit different, but I got a lot of experience with transaction businesses too.
Right then, we will see you on the next episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching as ever. So until next time, it's going to be goodbye from Margaux Scalisi.
Bye.
It's going to be goodbye from Simon Baker.
It's like the 2 Ronnies again. It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you on the next one. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.